First up, it was a clash between the losing semi-finalists. Ahead of the match, Brazil coach stressed on how his players need to win to restore some pride. His compatriot Louis van Gaal, meanwhile, said all Dutch players must respect their shirts and hoped to end his stint on a high. Looks like it's the Dutch who managed to take their manager's words more seriously as the Netherlands beat the hosts 3-0 at Brasilia. So no consolation for the hosts. In fact, more misery was piled on to them. The campaign has just ended in utter humiliation for Luis Felipe Scolari and his team. Remember, he was the one who stoked a lot of the anticipation before the semi-finals as well, saying we have one hand on the trophy and Brazil will win the cup. All of that, was it a little bit too premature and has it come back to bite him in the behind? Let's talk to our guests now. Eric, the players and the coach being booed off the pitch in Brazil, that just says it all, isn't it, the campaign for Brazil?
It's been a disgrace, to be really honest, Shivani. And if you see the goals that they have conceded, the first one was terrible. That was a sent-off. Easy, he should have been sent off. The second one was a big mistake. The defender went out and he gave it back in the D. All he had to do is clear it. If he wanted to clear it, he should have just kicked it out on the and given them a corner so that the whole defense comes back. And I am disappointed by this Brazil because we expect a lot from Brazil. You know, this is home. All right, now if you
and
can't
they were playing for pride here.
Exactly. I don't know where the word pride came from, but there was no pride. We just saw it in the first couple of minutes, and that's what Ashley and I were discussing, saying that we saw it initially. They went there pressing, but after that, when they gave in the first goal, it kind of...
Yeah, it all just came crashing down for Brazil, isn't it? Actually, such horrendous defending. Again and again, it seemed they hadn't learned any lessons from their semi-final defeat.
That's the thing. I mean, you know, all along we knew they were attacking and they were an expansive side. I think the full-backs have been their Achilles heel all the way through the tournament. They started with Alves and Marcelo, then Maicon comes in at right-back, and then last night they even tried Maxwell. And if you look at the first goal, Maxwell's left wondering. He's left his centre-half 1v1 with Robin, and there's only one winner there. You can't afford to leave your centre-half with the pace he's got.
Yes, did Brazil just implode rather, the correct word, under expectations? Because it's really schoolboy stuff. As Ashley was saying, that they were not doing right on the pitch. Things you learn when you're a kid, when you're really young.
You know, I think what happened on the day of the Germany match. After that, they just unraveled. I mean, all the talk that we are playing for pride, etc., was talk. You know, inside the players had lost their zone of equilibrium. They knew that the campaign had gone. I mean, the dream had been shattered, and it just went from bad to worse. I mean, this third place match, perhaps if it was not held, would have been good for Brazil. And now the legacy of this World Cup will be negative. They need restructuring of their football. They will need urban regeneration. This World Cup is a failure as far as Brazil is concerned, period. And that is the crux of the matter. I said this, that the third place match, not for the Dutch, but for Brazil was very important. And it's again gone worse.
Yes, Scolari tried to do a few things differently, Kevin. He made 6 changes to the team that started against Germany, but the result was the same in the end. Does that speak very badly about just the Brazil camp overall and its depth?
Yes, I mean, as Boris said, after a 7-1, it's so hard to come back. The first thing they'd have wanted to do is not concede early on, and they did that straight away. And though I don't think it was a penalty, it was just outside the area, should have been a red card. So, a nightmare start. Second goal, as you've said, appalling defending. Fair play to Holland, though, because they took this seriously. They played a strong side. They wanted to win it, and they played very well and finished with a flourish. And that's good for the future of Dutch football, with the Euros coming in 2 years' time. And Van Gaal has been replaced by an excellent manager for Holland, Gus Hiddink, coming in. So the future for Holland is very, very positive. For Brazil, some soul-searching for some years to come, I'm afraid.
Yes, let's talk about the Dutch as well before we continue talking about Brazil. Ashley, how happy would they be with the performance? They played exactly how we expected them to, especially after they got those first 2 goals. They really just stuck behind. Overall, they'll be happy. They came with a game plan, and the game plan worked. Brazil actually helped them along the way.
Yeah, it was textbook Dutch play, really. They sit nice and narrow, they defend in numbers, and they try and hit you on the break. They didn't have to wait too long for that break. They've got a 1v1 with Robin. He scores after 2 minutes. Once the second goes in after 15 minutes, they don't even really attack too much. They just sit in, defend, soak up all the pressure, and just leave it for Robin in 1v1 situation. So exactly the game plan worked to a T.
Yes, let me just put this to Boria. Boria, is this, the question has to be asked, was this the worst Brazilian team in a World Cup? If you look at their statistics, the number of goals that they have conceded, the fact that they went down 7-1 in a semi-final, they didn't score in 2 consecutive matches. This is Brazil's first back-to-back defeats at home since 1940. If you just look at the whole plethora of statistics, is this the worst Brazilian team ever in a World Cup?
If you actually take the semi-final scoreline and the third place scoreline out of it, it is not. I mean, Ashley made this point last day when we talked about it, and he was right that if it was a semi-final placement, you made the semi-final, you wouldn't say that it's a bad campaign overall. But the scoreline, 7-1 and 3-0, and the kind of defending and the kind of impact this has had on Brazilian football, I will want to agree with you that this will go down in history rather as the worst campaign for Brazil. Playing at home, this only compounds problems. It is a time of adversity for Brazilian football. As I said, the legacy will be negative, and all that good part of going into the semi-final will now be forgotten.
We'll talk about Brazil and its legacy a little bit more, but we leave you with the fans reacting to this third place match between Brazil and Holland. We'll be back in just 2 minutes.
Nós somos pentacampeões. Nascemos jogando bola e vamos morrer jogando bola, independente de qualquer coisa.
Eu falei, não posso. Assim, eu tô aqui, eu queria estar aqui torcendo, eu queria 3-0 hoje, assim não existe.
Niet zo heel veel verwachtingen. Nederland zat in een moeilijke groep met Spanje en Chili. Maar ze hebben het boven verwachting gedaan. Eigenlijk boven ieders verwachting zijn ze.
We're talking about the aftermath of the Brazil versus Netherlands third place match. First up, let's take a look at how Twitter reacted to this match. If we go across to the reverb from this match, RVP scored the opening goal, and that's really the first peak from this match. And of course, an even bigger peak when we had the second Netherlands coach, Blind, scoring the third major peak coming with the third goal. But, well, this is more or less expected. Let's take a look at some of the most retweeted tweets. This is interesting. This is the snubbed Brazil 11, an alternative Brazil 11 that did not even make it to the squad for some reason or the other, says at Footy. And, well, you can't say there's a lot there, but it's an alternative side that perhaps could have done some damage, maybe a little bit more than the one that played. This is interesting. Gary Lineker, Brazil played like an amateur outfit. And I'm sorry, PSG, that's Paris Saint-Germain, but David Luiz is not a defender and will never be. Remember, he's being bought by PSG for close to £50 million. Yes, Scolari, Brazil have conceded 10 goals in the last 2 games. That's a nice one there. And our final one, only 3 teams have conceded more than 12 goals in World Cup history. Saudi Arabia, North Korea, and the third one in that list now is Brazil. Shocking, really, some of the statistics for Brazil after the last 2 matches especially. Ashley, how do you rebuild the team from here? It looks more or less set that Scolari will not remain the coach. But what's the way forward for Brazil?
I think on paper they've not got a bad side. They're just a little bit young. For me, it was just naive. They didn't really have the big game knowledge. They went for wins when you see last night. Really, they should have been concentrating. Let's just keep it tight for the first 15 and then let's develop into the game. But like a wounded animal, really, they try to go after the result and they got punished. So I think just the age of them, they'll all gain experience from the tournament. I think before the tournament started, there was only 6 players in the whole squad that had World Cup finals experience. So they'll be better for it. But what they do desperately need, they need a number 9 and they need a centre forward from somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Neymar's out for a few weeks. He was their most potent factor up front. So that's sad. But Eric, how satisfied do you think Louis van Gaal would be with this campaign? Of course, he's taking over the job at Manchester United. Third place, he had more or less dissed this match before it happened. But a third place medal, still something to cheer about.
Yeah, definitely. There's always a positive side to it. Now, you beat the Brazilians in Brazil. That's a complimenting fact. They were wounded. They wanted to come back, like Ashley said. And you know what? You don't let them do that in Brazil. That's important. The confidence will be skyrocketing for players and the manager. I think they ended it on a high note. Even if they got crashed out in the semis, that's okay. They came in and they ended it on a high note, and that's how they should go back home.
Let's take a look at some of the reactions from both sets of camps after that third place playoff match at Brasilia. Brazil coach Scolari felt it wasn't a bad result despite losing their second match on the trot. He said the team didn't play well in the semi-finals and were looking for a positive result against the Dutch. Big Phil said he was optimistic that the team will do well in the next edition in Russia 4 years from now, even if they weren't very good now. Said they need to continue their good work. Meanwhile, Dutch manager Louis van Gaal expressed his delight after ending his campaign on a high. Remember, he didn't really want to play this one, but he said the players expressed themselves on the field, and that is the best feeling a coach can have. And, well, he can start his next job on a positive note. Let's go across to my colleague Manogya Loiwal, who's joining us from Kolkata, the biggest football crazy city in our country. Manogya, Brazil had a lot of following in Kolkata. Their fans must be crushed. Tell us how they feel after Brazil lost even the third place match off.
Well, that's what you call loyalty, and that's what you call persistence. So even though the team has lost, people are still not ready to lose their heart this time. We have with us a die-hard fan of Brazil who's still sporting a Brazil t-shirt. Depending on the performance, well, it was an all-out, rather tsunami that has written off Brazil this time. What is your take on it?
See, first of all, a Brazilian fan is always a Brazilian fan. There is more than 75 years of Brazilian heritage of leading the world of football, okay? 2 words for the world, joga bonito. We taught the world how to play beautiful football. This World Cup is a blip, it's bad. There's no doubt it's bad, and this Brazilian team has probably been the weakest in a very long time. But the nucleus of the team in Neymar and Oscar are still brilliant. They're still amongst the best in the world. And watch out for us. 2018 is going to be the year Brazil bounces back.
Well, that's the confidence that we see in the supporters here, and perhaps that's the reason why you would believe that Kolkata has been rooting for Brazil till now. But now it's more of Argentina and Germany. Rather, the city is divided into the two countries on who's going to win. Just a few hours for now, and the interesting match begins.
Absolutely. Stay with us, Manogya. We'll come back to you and take some thoughts from the fans there on the final. But it's good to see Brazilian fans keeping their hearts. And of course, that's what real fanship and loyalty is all about. Kevin, before you take your leave, a final reaction from you as well. Your suggestions to just how to rebuild this team, the Brazil team.
They've not got to panic. They won the Confederations Cup last year. As has been said, they're a young side. They will be back. I think what Brazil have got to realise, though, is they don't have a God-given right to win the World Cup. There's a little part of every Brazilian that thinks we should always win it, and especially in Brazil. Other countries would say semi-final. That's a good outcome. There's a greater strength in depth in world football now. It's becoming harder to win the World Cup, and I think Brazil just has to respect that. Go away, think, and take it more seriously next time, more seriously than they have. Realise they're up against stronger opposition than they realised.
That's right. It's time for the big finale of the 2014 FIFA World Cup. I'm Shivani Gupta. You're watching Carnival 2014 with a power-packed panel. Argentina versus Germany. That's all that is left now in this year's edition. One man, Lionel Messi, versus the entire German machine. Bengaluru FC's I-League winning coach Ashley Westwood and former Team India manager Eric Benny are with me in the studio. Our consulting editor Boria Majumdar joins us from England, and we have a German perspective from Arunava Chaudhary, who's in Berlin. But first up, 32 teams started the carnival in Brazil a month ago, and the best 2 teams remain now. The much anticipated final will see South American giants Argentina take on the German machine. The 2 teams with rich history are at it again. All right, that's the schedule of the final. 12:30 a.m. later tonight at the Estadio de Maracana, Argentina taking on Germany. So that's the big finale. We're all building up to 64th match of the 2014 World Cup. That's the only one left now. Germany, Argentina, who will take the top prize? Let's dive straight into that. Let me go across to Boria first up. Boria, we've seen a bit of shockers in this World Cup. We've seen smaller teams make their presence felt. In the end, though, it's 2 giants playing out the final. Germany and Argentina becoming the first 2 teams to play as many as 3 finals against each other.
I was wondering where you were going with the shocker question, because there is no shock when these 2 countries play, isn't there? Absolutely right. 2 giants, 2 top football sides. And I was listening to the VO that you played out. Obviously, it's individual versus team brilliance. whichever side wins, it's not going to be a surprise. I mean, I would personally want Messi to win because I'm a Messi fan, but Germany, they are the better side. Again, heart says Messi, but mind says Germany. Germany has come out as the best team, but one wants Messi to win because he will then be as much Argentinian, if not more, because he's done it in Brazil.
Right, Arunava, a German legend, Franz Beckenbauer, has come out and said before this match that he doesn't remember another World Cup final where the outcome was so obvious. And obviously he's talking about Germany.
And I think that's the general impression you get today all over Germany. And if you watch the morning programs here on television, there's a morning chat show on football which runs for 2 hours. And the question was like, what's the result going to be? Even my father, my mother, everyone, around me, even everyone is like of the similar opinion. And it seems like to be just a question, is it going to be a 2-1, a 3-1, a 4-1, a 6-1, an 8-1? People are going gaga about it. I think a lot of people, and that's the danger with such kind of matches, are already taking it as granted that Germany is going to win the World Cup.
Right. Ashley, what do you have to say about this? It's the man versus the machine. How big of a favourite Germany is? So you're wearing the German T-shirt, so you're clearly supporting them tonight.
I actually stuck this on because I see Jeff Hurst with a German scarf and in the paper today, so I thought if it's good enough for Jeff Hurst, then I'll stick one on as well. But it's like everyone says, efficiency, teamwork, professionalism, everything's geared to Germany, but you can't count Argentina off. It's one match, anyone can win. It's 2v5 in the world. It's not as if there's an underdog. It could go either way. If Argentina keep it nice and tight and manage to get the ball into Messi in and around the box, they could quite easily win. But we're thinking Germany just because of their overpowering result against Brazil.
Yeah, Eric, you're supporting Argentina in this one. So Messi is extremely important. Do you think one man can really break down that German machine? It's been extremely efficient so far.
All right, now Messi is a player who can move at a pace of 32.5 kilometers, and that boy can turn wherever he wants. Now there are players who say that if we give Messi more than 2 seconds on the ball, he'll do us. Now this is a boy who's made for this World Cup. Brilliant. I mean, the way you've seen him being taken off, shoulders just right, left, center, everywhere. And he's moved away. The way he's created and split open defenses.
But has he showed enough spark for you in this World Cup? Some say he's been below par. Of course, he has set lofty standards, of course, with his talent.
Well, in Barcelona, it's something different. At the Argentinian team, it's different. But you know what? He's contributed.
He has.
He has done 28 passes almost on a situation where his team members could score. He's split open defenses. So I'm not disappointed personally. I'm a great Messi fan. But yes, looking at what he's done, we are hoping it to be an interesting match.
But do you agree with this tagline that it's him versus Germany? Because that's not very flattering to Argentina, is it?
Yeah, but then you always have a star, in your team, and you look up to the star and you depend on him. And he's the player who could bail you out at any point in time. He has the capability, and he's done it over this World Cup.
Right. All right, let's just listen in to what the managers had to say before this match. And then we'll also talk about the teams, the likely starting 11s for both these teams.
Diese Mannschaft ist nicht nur Messi. Würde man das denken, dann würde man auch einen Fehler machen. Diese Mannschaft hat andere hervorragende, wobei natürlich Messi schon auch ein Spieler sein kann, der in jedem Spiel immer eben auch entscheidende Dinge tut. Aber diese Mannschaft ist viel, viel besser organisiert. Das haben sie im Verlauf dieses Turniers gezeigt.
Que vamos a darlo todo como lo hemos hecho siempre. A través de la humildad, el sacrificio, el trabajo, la sencillez, el dar, como digo siempre, el dar antes que recibir, y vamos a dar todo para que Argentina vuelva a ser campeón. Estamos muy contentos, muy satisfechos como hemos ido mejorando y vemos como...
Ich glaube, dass wir keinen Druck haben. Wir haben, wie gesagt, sehr viele Spieler in unseren Reihen, die schon auf sehr hohem Niveau das ein oder andere große Spiel auch schon gemacht. Deswegen, wir müssen nur an eins denken, das ist den Job, den wir hier zu verrichten haben. Wenn der Schiedsrichter anpfeift, sich auf das zu konzentrieren, was uns stark macht. Und
all right, let's talk about the formations that we can expect at the starting for these two teams. Eric, very quickly, let's talk about Argentina.
Well, Argentina is going to play the same formation that worked for them. I mean, Romero in the goal, the 4 defenders, 2 midfielders and 3 up front and one. So 4-2-3-1 is typically what we are looking at. Now we've seen how critical Higuain has been out there. I mean, there were many opportunities where he got close to scoring, and how Messi set him up in the previous one. Exceptional. Mascherano is going to play a very critical role out here. And usually when the Germans attack, we would be seeing a lot of this happening, where Perez and Levizzi would be dropping in. There could be a formation which will look like this, 4-4-1-1. And Messi has been not very effective dropping back. We know that, you know. He's not a player who will come behind and do that. We would like to see him do that, because the Germans are known for counter-attack. Now, while these guys get exposed, Mascherano and Begalia should be the players who could sit back. And Rojo and all, when they come up front, it'll be a little difficult. They could get exposed out here. Now, we're also expecting Perez to start, or maybe, you know, Aguero to come in if possible. So this is typically what we are seeing.
All right, let's talk about Germany now. Ashley, if you can take us through the German side. Again, they don't really need to make a lot of changes, and they have a lot of depth in their
well,
on the
obviously, we've seen them against Brazil. They won 7-1, so it's going to take a very brave manager to change that. You know, you don't get any better than 7-1 to Brazil, so that they'll probably stick with the same. Lamb's come in at right back in the last two. He's been a breath of fresh air. His quality on the ball has kept it nice and simple. He keeps the ball where Boateng was originally playing right back, but his ball retention and him on the ball was very poor, so they've moved him into centre half, which suits his attributes more than a right back. You know, in the middle there'll be a lot of interchange. Schweinsteiger will probably try and look after Messi if he can. If he doesn't manage to go forward, Khedira will sit nice and tight and sit in for Schweinsteiger. So the three will move. And up front, what they have got is similar to what they've got in midfield. They've got a lot of fluency, a lot of interchange. Klose may drop in to come and get the ball. You'll see Muller replace him with a bit of interchanging runs. Ozil sometimes might even come into there. So it'll be hard to pick up. The 3 versus the 4 of Argentina will be a lot of movement and a lot of threatening the back line. If it's Ozil, he'll come into there. If Muller comes, he's very good in and around the box, making those little darting diagonal runs that gets him down the sides of the centre halves, which is where he gets his goals. So expect lots of movement in the Germans and lots of energy and fitness, really.